Have you ever felt the invisible weight of other people's eyes on you? Every move, every word feels haunted by the silent question, what will they think of me? This quiet pressure shapes more lives than almost anything else, and its cost is heavy. Because the more you care about others' approval, the more you lose sight of yourself. Carl Jung, the pioneer of depth psychology, saw this danger clearly. He showed that the constant urge to fit in slowly erodes the soul. It starts with small choices like the words you never speak, the clothes you never wear, the dreams you keep buried. One compromise after another until you realize your entire life is being lived for someone else's expectations. But what if that fear isn't harmless? What if it's the very reason you feel anxious, restless, or empty, no matter how hard you try to do everything right? Look around. People bend themselves into shapes just to be liked. They adjust their appearance, filter their opinions, even betray their values. They spend hours on social media, editing images and captions for strangers' approval. At work or school, they hold back ideas to avoid standing out. At home, they say yes when their heart screams no. And the irony is this: most of these fears are imagined. The truth is that most people are too preoccupied with their own insecurities to judge you as harshly as you believe. Jung called this the collective shadow, the force in society that punishes difference and rewards conformity even at the cost of authenticity. The more you surrender to it, the further you drift from your true self. You don't just lose your voice, you lose your center. You wear a mask so long you forget the face beneath it. And even when you do everything right, you still feel hollow because your soul cannot breathe behind the mask. Why is this urge so strong? From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to seek approval. Parents praise us when we behave. Teachers reward us for fitting in. Friends pressure us when we stand apart. Slowly, we become experts at suppressing our truth, reading the room, and playing roles that keep us safe but disconnected. Jung explained this through two powerful concepts: the persona, the mask we wear in public, and the shadow, the hidden side of ourselves we fear to reveal. The persona helps us survive, but it can never help us thrive. The shadow grows every time we deny our real feelings, desires, and thoughts for fear of rejection. And the more we suppress it, the more fake and anxious we become. Here's the painful truth: no matter how hard you try, you can never please everyone. There will always be critics. There will always be misunderstanding, envy, or judgment. As Friedrich Nietzsche once said, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. That struggle is the price of authenticity. And yet Jung's message was clear. Freedom does not come from approval. It comes from individuation, from becoming who you truly are, even if it means being disliked. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But to claim that privilege, you must be willing to face rejection and embrace discomfort. Yes, this path is hard. You may lose friends, face criticism, or feel lonely at times. But ask yourself, is it worth sacrificing your soul just to please those who only accept a version of you that isn't real? The truth is, every moment you choose authenticity over approval, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every time you honor your voice, you grow stronger. And the more you practice, the less power other people's opinions will hold over your life. So the next time you hear that question in your head, what will they think? Pause and remember this: their approval cannot give you freedom, and their judgment cannot take it away. Only by choosing yourself can you begin to live as you were meant to, because the greatest respect you will ever earn is the respect you give yourself. Carl Jung taught that every person wears a mask. He called it the persona, the social face we present to survive in the world. The mask helps us navigate society, but it is never the whole truth. Beneath it lies something deeper, the self that longs to be seen, the thoughts and feelings we hide. Most people confuse their mask with their identity. They perform roles so often that they forget the difference between survival and authenticity. The mask gains applause, but the true self grows restless, waiting for recognition. And the longer you hide, the heavier the mask becomes. Jung also revealed another truth: the shadow. The shadow is everything we deny, repress, or refuse to acknowledge about ourselves. It contains the anger we suppress, the desires we fear, the creativity we silence, even the strengths we hide. The more we push it away, the stronger it grows. Unseen, it begins to control us from the background. Think of the moments you wanted to speak but swallowed your words, the dreams you dismissed because others might laugh, the emotions you buried because you thought they were unacceptable. Each time, a piece of you slips into the shadow, and slowly you begin to live a double life, the one the world sees and the one you keep in silence. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In other words, what you ignore inside yourself does not disappear. It shapes your choices, your relationships, and your sense of worth without you realizing it. This is why so many people feel anxious or disconnected even when they appear successful. They live by the mask but never meet the person beneath it, and the shadow whispers louder the longer it is ignored. Why do we fear revealing our true selves? Because from childhood we are taught that acceptance is conditional. We are rewarded for fitting in and punished for standing out, so we learn to hide parts of ourselves just to belong. But belonging built on suppression is fragile. It collapses the moment you stop performing. As Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "The crowd is untruth." True belonging does not come from the applause of the many, but from the integrity of the self. When you betray yourself for approval, you do not belong to others. You become a stranger to yourself. Facing the shadow is not easy. It requires honesty about what you feel, even when it is uncomfortable. It demands courage to admit what you truly want, even if it goes against expectations. And it requires compassion, because the parts you hide are not your enemies, they are pieces of your wholeness. Jung believed that the path to psychological health is integration. Not perfection, not pleasing everyone, but uniting the mask with the shadow so you live as one whole being. He wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." That choice begins when you stop fearing your hidden self and start listening to it. So the next time you feel the mask tightening, remember this: you are not here to play a role forever. You are not defined by the shadow you've hidden away. Freedom begins when you allow both to step into the light. When you do, you no longer need constant approval, because you no longer depend on others to tell you who you are. One of the greatest reasons we care so deeply about what others think is the pursuit of perfection. We imagine that if we look flawless, speak flawlessly, act flawlessly, we will finally be accepted. But perfection is a mirage. Even if you reach it, someone will still find fault, someone will still disapprove. This endless chase is exhausting. It leaves you measuring your worth in likes, in praise, in fleeting signs of approval. And yet approval never lasts. You wake up the next day and the question returns, what will they think now? Carl Jung reminded us, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. It is terrifying because it means giving up the illusion that external approval can heal the emptiness inside. It means admitting that no mask, no performance, no perfect act can replace the wholeness that comes from self-acceptance. Perfection is not only impossible, it is dehumanizing. To strive for it is to deny the messy, complex, contradictory reality of being alive. You were not born to be flawless. You were born to be real. And real people stumble, struggle, and sometimes fall apart before they rise again. As Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Your imperfections are not obstacles to your greatness, they are the soil from which it grows. The cracks in your life are not failures, they are openings for light, creativity, and transformation. When you finally let go of perfection, the pressure begins to lift. You breathe more easily. You allow yourself to speak without rehearsing every word. You permit yourself to wear what feels right rather than what is safe. You laugh when you want to laugh, even if no one else joins you. This is not recklessness, it is liberation. Because when you release the need to be perfect, you give yourself permission to live. Mistakes become lessons instead of punishments. Flaws become details instead of disqualifications. And judgment from others becomes just that, their judgment, not your truth. Jung believed that authenticity is the foundation of psychological health. When you choose to honor your voice, your values, and your path, even when it costs you approval, you send a powerful message to your own subconscious. You tell yourself, my truth matters more than their opinion. Over time, this choice builds unshakable self-respect, the kind no critic can take away. As the philosopher Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. It is better to be mocked for being real than praised for being fake. It is better to risk rejection than to betray yourself. The moment you stop demanding perfection from yourself, life softens. You no longer need to perform every second. You can rest in your own humanity, flawed and whole at the same time. You realize that the people who truly matter will not love you because you are perfect. They will love you because you are true. So when you feel the urge to polish yourself into someone flawless, pause. Ask yourself, who am I really doing this for? If the answer is others, then stop. Choose imperfection, choose authenticity, choose life. Because the freedom you seek will never come from perfection. It will only come from accepting yourself as you are, completely and without apology. When you stop chasing perfection and release the need for approval, something powerful happens. The way you connect with others begins to change. Instead of performing for acceptance, you start relating from authenticity. And that shift transforms not only your relationships but also your sense of belonging. Most people build relationships on masks. They show the version of themselves they think will be liked, safe, or admired. But masks can only attract more masks. When two people hide their truth, they never meet each other, only the roles they perform. Carl Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This transformation can only happen when authenticity enters the space. Otherwise, the connection remains shallow, a performance without substance. Think about the conversations you have when you're pretending. They feel exhausting. You laugh at things that don't amuse you, agree with ideas that don't resonate, and hold back thoughts that matter deeply. By the end, you feel drained instead of nourished. That is the cost of inauthentic connection. It leaves you lonelier than being alone. True connection, on the other hand, feels different. It may not happen often, but when it does, it is unmistakable. It is the conversation where you let your guard down, and the other person does the same. It is the friendship where silence feels comfortable because you don't have to prove anything. It is the bond that sees you as you are, not as you perform. As the philosopher Rumi said, the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. In authentic connection, you hear not only the other person's words but also their essence, and they hear yours. There is no competition, no mask, no need to impress, only presence. Of course, being authentic in relationships carries risks. When you show your real self, some people will walk away. They may prefer the polished version of you that never disagrees, never questions, never challenges. But here is the truth. If someone only accepts you when you hide, they never truly accepted you at all. Jung emphasized that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, often means tolerating misunderstanding. He believed that loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. The pain of shallow relationships is greater than the pain of solitude. And solitude, paradoxically, becomes the space where you learn how to connect for real. When you accept yourself, you stop begging others to validate you. Instead, you start choosing relationships where authenticity is mutual. You become less interested in large circles and more interested in meaningful bonds. A few genuine friendships bring more peace than 100 shallow ones. This does not mean you must reject everyone who fails to understand you. It means you learn to value depth where you find it and stop wasting energy trying to be liked where you do not belong. It means you start to see connection not as something to chase but as something to invite through honesty. As Jean-Paul Sartre once wrote, "If you are lonely when you are alone, you are in bad company." Learning to enjoy your own presence prepares you to form connections that are honest rather than desperate. When you are at peace with yourself, you stop settling for relationships that demand your mask instead of your truth. So the next time you feel tempted to perform, pause. Ask yourself, do I want to be liked for a role or loved for who I am? Because the people who truly belong in your life will never require you to hide. And the people who cannot accept you as you are were never meant to stay. No matter how authentic you become, criticism and misunderstanding will still follow you. There will always be voices that judge, dismiss, or project their insecurities onto you. But the difference lies in how you respond. When you live from self-respect, their words lose the power to define you. Carl Jung observed, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." So often, the criticism we face has little to do with us and everything to do with others' unfulfilled desires, their fears, their regrets. Understanding this frees you from carrying weights that were never yours. Criticism is not always a mirror, it is often a projection. When someone attacks your choices, ask yourself, is this about my truth or about their fear? Are they reacting to me or are they running from themselves? When you see it this way, you stop personalizing every opinion, and you begin to stand taller in your own center. Self-respect is built through choices, not wishes. Every time you choose honesty over approval, you reinforce it. Every time you set a boundary instead of pleasing, you strengthen it. And every time you let yourself be misunderstood rather than betray your truth, you deepen it. Jung believed that individuation requires this kind of courage. He wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Your worth is not decided by your past mistakes, nor by the approval of others, but by the choices you make to honor your real self in the present. This does not mean being reckless or cruel. It means being quietly firm in your path. It means recognizing that respect begins within, and that no one else's validation can substitute for your own. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once reminded himself, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." To live fully is to stop hiding, to step into your own life without apology, even if others disapprove. Self-respect also requires compassion. You cannot build strength by waging war on yourself. Speak to yourself the way you would to a friend, patiently, honestly, kindly. It is through this inner gentleness that your confidence grows roots deep enough to withstand storms. And when loneliness visits, as it sometimes will, remember this: it is better to be alone with your truth than surrounded by people who only accept your mask. True belonging begins the moment you belong to yourself. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "Become who you are." It sounds simple, but it is the work of a lifetime. And every step you take toward it, every moment of honesty, every act of courage, every refusal to shrink, builds a life that feels real, a life that is yours. So let this be your reminder. You are not here to live as someone else's idea of you. You are not here to spend your days performing for approval that never lasts. You are here to honor your voice, your values, and your truth. The world will always have opinions. Let them. Your task is not to control what others think, but to live in such a way that your own respect for yourself grows stronger each day. Because in the end, the loudest applause or the harshest judgment will fade, but the relationship you build with yourself will remain. Stand firm in that. Respect yourself fully. Live as you truly are, and you will discover that no external opinion can match the quiet power of inner freedom.